So for all the new people, this is a spiritualist church. So our job task is to prove that there is something that happens after you drop your body, right? Basically. And so I think we do that a lot. For me, my task then is to take you further out on the fringes, and so that you can figure out what you are about, right? What works for you, because what works for me may not work for you. And so my job is to do that. I always say I take you out in the forest and get you almost lost where you got to figure your way back in. Okay, if you get lost, ask me a question. And so I want to talk a little bit about how I got where I am. I'll be 60 next year, early. So I've been doing this consciously for over 30 years. And now there are things that are coming out 30 years later that I knew about 30 years ago, right? And so confirmation is good. I had a session with Joshua Shapiro yesterday. Everybody know Joshua Shapiro? He's the crystal skull explorer. If you want to know anything about crystal skulls, he's a good guy to look up. And so confirmation was my word. And so all this stuff is just confirming to me what I already know somewhat. What I know before I started reading and studying and what I figured out after. So I'm going to start with my first book I ever read that got me on this journey. Right? And it is called, I still have it, The Passionate Mind. Right? By Joel Kramer. I bought an extra copy in case somebody wants to read it. I would ask for a book report after. But this is one of those books that, as I was reading it, stuff was changing about me, like right then, right? So in a nutshell, I was reading this book, and it talks about the dragon eating its tail, right? So all the stuff that I was doing, even at that time, I was messing with my own self, right? And so Wide Awake then, and this thing about pretty much all of these books that I want to bring forward is that they're relevant right now, even though they were written years ago. And that's why I like the books I have. And so that's one of these books that once you get into it, it hits your reset button. Everything you thought you knew goes out, and you just gotta shake your head and rethink everything. So, The Passionate Mind by Joel Kramer. If you didn't get to see that, that is it. And again, I'm happy to have a class on any of these topics. Again, 20 minutes is not enough time to go through thousands of years of information, right? So, I had some of the kids come to church with us before, and she was saying they didn't have the book, right? They didn't have the book, and so this is the book. Everybody have heard of this book, right? Yes, it's the Holy Bible. Yes, for sure, right? All right. I'm not asking if you've read it. I'm just asking if you've heard about it. Right? So, good stuff. That book, good stuff. Have you ever heard of the lost books of the Bible and the forgotten books of Eden? Maybe. So, this is the other half of that book right there. And so, before people come to talk to me about Jesus and stuff, you better start reading about some of this stuff right here. Because this book the Bible starts somewhat around Jesus' birth or so, and comes forward. So what happened before that? And what made that man what he was to us, right? And so, you can't read that book without knowing about this book. And then there's another one called The Lost Years of Jesus. All these stuff you need to know because it explains this book. When I started, we used to go to church every Sunday, twice during the week and stuff. It never made any sense to me. until I started reading all these books and studying all these books, and then that one made sense. Right? So I'm not down in any book. I'm just saying there's more than just that book. I talked about it, I think, last time I was up here, whereas you don't really want an answer that's ready-made. Right? I have a headache today. Okay, go read chapter 5, verse 2 through 5, and you get your answer. Right? Whereas even if you have another day and you have that question, it might be a different answer. So there are no ready-made answers. Right? And every answer for every single one of you is probably going to be different. And so those books I recommend. Again, you can borrow them from me with a stipulation. This one is as important as that one. I'll read it for you because I see you squinting. This one is called The History of the First Council of Nicaea. Anybody know what that is? I'll take your answer.
It's when they determined what was going to be in the Bible.
Right. That's these men, and I don't even know if there were any women in that group.
There were probably not.
They weren't, right. So, half the world is out. And so they sat down, a bunch of men sat down and decided, these are going to be in the Bible, and these are not. And why? I have no idea why they did that. You know, I can guess because some of the information they didn't understand, and so they decided, that's out. Or some of the information would liberate you, and so we ain't giving that to them. Part of my island accent, it'll come out in a bit. And so that's why they didn't put this information in.
Was it the Romans who did that?
Yeah, it's around that time, yes. Right. And so, again, this is just confirmation because I talked about this many times before. The Council of Nicaea. Some men, and again, it gets to me, why just men, right? I just found out that they are now saying that Mary Magdalene wasn't a whore. She was an apostle. Right? So they told us all that stuff from way back then. A bunch of men. Right? And so all this stuff is important. It's just going to tear away some of the layers that they've been built up around us so we can get to what the real truth is. Right? And so, to me, great information. Right? So now, when I started talking about Jesus and studying and researching, I want to, people want to, like, you know what? I want to meet Jesus. And for me, it's like, you know what? I want to meet who made Jesus. Where'd he come from? That's where I want to go with all that stuff. And so that's where my studies went. And so this book, I'm not going to lend you this one, first off. So this book is the Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch. Right? Few people heard of this. Anybody heard of this one? Few people. Everybody should hear about this book. You've heard about Enoch in the Bible. Maybe once or twice or 3 times or so. There's a whole book on Enoch. As big or bigger than what we call the Bible. And so if you want to talk about the Bible, you got to start reading some of this stuff right here. And so when I had to go through this book, I was told by Spirit I had to go through this book from page to page. And it took me 7 years to go through this book. And I was supposed to read it. A lot of stuff I didn't understand, but what I figured out was they were playing with my brain and getting certain technical information in my head. Right? And so I started going through it again. Sometimes I would read a page or a paragraph and I'd be out, I'd go to sleep. Right? And so this is good information. This is almost like an encyclopedia kind of. You want to have it in there that you can go look at it and pull out information. This book reads like religion and science all in the same thing. So at some point, it was separated after this book. So back in the day, it was all together. It was all one, like we were all one. And then somebody decided, I don't like that piece, so I'm going to start something new. That's how we got all these churches. I don't believe that, so I'm going to have another one. I don't believe that one, those two, so I'm going to have another one. And so we keep dissecting this stuff. So again, there's something good in all of them, right? So don't diss anybody, even though they diss us because, oh, they don't believe in God, but I don't diss them. That's not what we do. We're inclusive, right? You could come with socks. You could come with no shoes. I had a drunk guy in here. We're open to everybody because everybody needs some help. I need some help. Just because I'm up here, I don't mean I'm perfect. I can see the perfect over yonder, but that's my goal. So everybody should have one of these books. All right? You can read mine at my house, but it's not leaving my house. So you know. Again, the book reports. Also with that book, so I started going back again. And so I could go back as far as 250,000 years. That's how far I can go back. We're learning that the earth and all that was around way before that. But that's how far I'm going to go and come forward. And so if you want information before what we call modern times, this book you should absolutely have, without a doubt. Right. This book is called the Urantia book. And this book also talks about things that happened before the modern era. Right? And so you can't diss this book and say you love the Bible. Otherwise, again, you're running around with half information, and preaching this stuff. This is the only way, when every way is the only way. Right? I always say all roads lead to home. Enlightenment or realization of yourself or what. So this book, and this book confirms a lot of stuff for me once I started reading. And this book was around, how long ago did you read this book, Judith?
I think I was 17, so that would have been at
At least 20 years ago.
least 45 years ago. Yeah.
And so few people know about this book. This is one of those books you have to have, and you don't have to have this one with a leather bag, but you can go to Book People and get a book, right? Or you can go online and do some searches. This information is priceless, right? And again, this information backed up a bunch of the stuff that I was studying, called The Law of One. Anybody ever heard about that book? The Law of One, like one guy. So what that means is you have some researching to do, right? Because the Law of One says, and we talk about it, yeah, we're all one, and y'all, all that kind of stuff, which is cool to talk about it, but you need to practice that stuff. And so this stuff was out years and years and years and years, as long as that one is the Law of One, right? So you should, and this is a series of books. This is number 4, but it talks about we're all one, and we need to act that way. Right? And I say all one, I mean all one as human beings and all one as extraterrestrial beings or space brothers or what you want to call it. Because really, they're no aliens. They're just brothers once you start reading about that stuff. Right? People say alien, and I think that was set up to scare people into backing away from the information. Right? Because if you say alien, what happens? Separation or they're going to come and take us over. And then so we're here to protect you, kind of. Whereas if you start doing some work on your chakras, I don't even know if I have that book, then you'll realize that each level is connected to some other civilization, Sirius, Orion, Arcturians, and the list. I think there are like 12 of them. And this is in your chakras. This is actually in your DNA once you start going into like 12-layer DNA. Right? You heard DNA and junk DNA. Now this is the stuff they don't want to tell you about. If I may step outside the box, they know about it. They don't want to tell you about it. You ever heard of the Vatican Vault? That you are never going to get in there because they have information that they don't want you to know. I'm just saying. You're right or wrong, I'm just saying. right? This information that I'm showing you, they have that stuff in there. They have artifacts in there. It was this, what is the name of that thing? It was like the chimeria. I don't know the word. It may come to one of you later. And this was found way back. And it's a mechanical clock that they found thousands of years ago. Right? And so they have information that they don't want us to know. Meaning, if I tell you this information, then you're not going to come back to me anymore. So they'd rather you not know the information and follow along with all the stuff that they're telling you. But there's lots of stuff that they're not telling you. The Law of One, this is something you should have in your library. Not just you need to read it every time, but sometimes, I read 4 or 5 books at a time, because sometimes it's like, I got to get out of this one, I get into another one. The Law of One, that's a good series. And then, again, we're going back, thousands of years, and okay. Thousands of years. So here's another series of books. And I just ran across this book. Again, this one confirms the stuff in the Urantia book and stuff in the Law of One. And so this series was called Confessions of a Rebel Angel. Right? Or you could call it like a fallen angel. Because I want to know, what is this all about? Right? I used to hear, we are born in sin and all that kind of stuff. And at some level, that didn't make no sense to me. So I wanted to find out, why would you think that? And so it got me into trying to figure out, okay, so who is this devil that we put all this blame on so we don't have to worry about it? The devil made me do it. That was the saying, right? Who was that guy? And so there, at some point, there is a person, angel, entity called Lucifer. There is that person, but there is no devil, right? And all that is that Lucifer decided, and he got a group of angel friends, and they decided, we're not going to stick with the norm. We're not going to believe in this unseen God, and we're going to break away, and we're going to say we're God, right? And we're gonna rule our section, because each angel had a section that they would take care of. And so when they made that decision, then the connection, the spirit connection that they had, they lost that connection. And not lost as in forever, but almost you got a shield on it. So now you can't connect directly to source, which we all can do, except it's shielded. And so that's why we're shielded, but we weren't born in sin, right? They just went against the norm. And there was not just this planet, there were other planets that also broke away because the guy leading it decided, we're going to break from the norm. And so that's where all this stuff comes from, right? So again, we were all together. And so this so will explain all about actually nuclear war before we had nuclear weapons. So they had technology. What we have now, they had back then. And even more. I'm talking about 200,000 years ago. They had nuclear technology. Right? At most times they didn't use it to blow up stuff. So if you give Buddha a nuclear weapon, I guarantee it will be used in a positive way. But if you give the military nuclear weapons, I guarantee you, as seen, it will go in a negative way. So it's not a bad thing, it's just what they do with it. Right? And so this information confirmed what I was studying for 20 years. Right? And so this was a new series, And so it's kind of funny. This was like, they weren't a cult, but it was like a group of people. They wore all black and stuff, and they would go around and sell books and stuff. But in between that story is this fallen angel that wants to, for lack of a better word, repent. And I'm sorry that we did that. And so I'm going through it, and I'm learning from it. And the deal with these guys is that if you create something, you can't just leave it and go. You're tied to it forever. Whatever you do, whatever actions you do, you're tied to them forever. No matter what it is. And so they're tied, so now they're trying to work their way back to connection to all that is. Good series of books if you want to go back before Jesus and what was happening before then, right? This will also lead you into information about the Egyptians, right? And we see all the markings on the wall and the huge statues and the animal-headed faces and the large cones, and we see all that. Nobody really wanted to explain all that, right? Why? Because they were communicating with people that were off planet, right? That's why I think it was Akhenaten. Once he left power, they tried to destroy every image of him. Like in Egypt, Alexander went into Egypt, and what he did with all the statues, he blew the noses off of them. Why? Because they had big noses. They had African noses. And so he did that in modern times. And so back in older times, they did that again. Right? They tried to destroy everything about him because he was talking about the one God or the sun God. And the priests didn't want that. They want the norm. And so that is one of the things that you should learn. I was talking to my brother yesterday, and it was like, do you know about Egypt? Because people talk about Egypt. But if you want to talk about Egypt, you better talk about off-planet civilizations. Otherwise, again, you're getting half the story. And so there's other stuff that's coming out now that's explaining to me more about off-planet civilizations. Because people say we're alone. Come on now. As big as the universe is, we're not alone. And so, again, when people come to talk to me about extraterrestrials, I have to say, okay, I have to find out where your head is. Because there's certain things you need to know before you come talk to me about certain stuff. So this is one of the latest books that's out. Latest books as in the last year or two. It's called Secret Machines. Anybody ever heard of it? Nope. So, and this is one of the things that they don't want you to know about. Things you never heard in school. This is one of these things. And I've been talking about this again for 20 years. Now here's a book that confirms all these things. I knew there were, but most people didn't. Until they want to read it and touch it and feel it and stuff. Then it's like, oh yeah, right? Secret Machines. And so this was a CIA military person who had ties to all kinds of stuff. When was the last time he went to the moon? Anybody know?
Morning.
Anybody else? Anybody else? This morning. How long did it take us?
10 minutes.
4 minutes. 4 minutes. 4 minutes. Have you heard that? No. They've been doing it for a long time. For a long time. Okay, so anybody know why a hammer costs $5,000 in the military? Because they're paying for all this secret stuff that they're doing. That's why. We're paying for it, we just don't know about it. And so I want to talk a little bit about, man, time goes when I'm having fun. I'll talk a little bit about extraterrestrials. Because really, again, there are people that are different than us, but a lot of them are not as connected to source as we are. Right? There's a book called The God Code. You should read about that book. It talks about God within. Now they can touch it and somewhat see it, And so if you're talking about, we got to talk about off-planet stuff, because a lot of times, anybody, I know you have heard of it. Anybody heard of the secret space program? Guessing 2 people or so. So this stuff is happening. We just don't know about it. And the reason, really, they don't want to tell you about extraterrestrials is not because of the extraterrestrials, but because of the technology. How did they get here from wherever that is, right? And so once they let that technology go, then really we won't have any sickness. Everybody will be fed. This is kind of what's going to be called the ascension. When we get this information that we all can be healthy and we all can be prosperous, right? We just got to know, yeah, we can do it. Everybody can do that. Everybody can do what I'm doing right now. Everybody can be mediums. Everybody can be healers. But they told us for so long, you're not. I'm it. Back in the day, this is how I felt in church. Oh, he's preaching. If something's wrong with me, I got to come here. I got to go through him to get to God. That was my idea of going to church, right? My idea now is God is with me wherever I go, every day, all day, and with you as well. There is no he's over there and I'm over here, which is what I used to think when I was sitting in the pews. God is over yonder and I'm right here and I got to go there and get him, right? And no, so wherever you are, God is. Simply put, you just got to know that's what it is. We want to find out what it is. More books are coming out that talk about that right now. The human Akash. Everybody has an Akashic record of all the things that you've ever done. And because it's quantum, all the things that you are ever going to do. Individual Akash. There's also a group Akash. What we're all going to do, what we all did. Everybody has access to it. Every single person, just not one person. You have individual Akash. They call it the Akashic record. The Earth has one. Again, if the Earth has one, guess what? The Moon has one. Saturn has one. Everybody has one. And they're all tied together. It's like a library. Different sections, but there's a main library that has everything, and then there's certain parts. Everybody has it. Everybody has access to that right now. You just got to be able to peel away the layers of what they told you in school, in class, in church, what your mama told you, and not blaming your mama, but your mama is based on her mama and her mama, what they told them. Right? But everybody has access to do that stuff. Another series you have to know about is Conversations with God. Few people heard of that. I see a few nodding heads. This is what you should have in your library. This is a series of books. There are probably like 12 of them or so. Some of them I've read once. Some of them I've read 3-4 times. There's one called Going Home. Home with God. Home with God. If there's one book you want to... Oh, okay, there's 2 of them. Wait, there's 12 of them. Wait, so this is one. If you want to know about crossing over, the process, what happens, and what happens when you say, yes, I want to go, or no, I want to stay, it's all explained in this book. Yvonne's dad was passing. She read this book, totally changed her mind about it. Right? And that's what we spiritualists are about. Hey, you got your family with you all the time. It's just sometimes when the medium comes up, certain people step forth more than others, so we can say, hey, this person's with you today. Again, but everybody's always with you. You got the capacity to talk to them now. So once you get this going on, there will be no missing. I don't miss my mother. I mean, miss the food she used to make, because I can't make it. But I can still feel her with me. And sometimes I get messages, yeah, she's with you, but I know she's with me. So this is a good book to have if you want to explain that to somebody else, right? And then you don't feel this debilitating loss that you can't go on anymore, right? This will help you. I'm going to stop soon because Yvonne is getting restless. This is one you should know about. It's called Tomorrow's God. And so you have to revisit what you think God is, right? Because some people think God is jealous of God because, again, we put our human traits and what we call God. So if somebody did something to me, I'm jealous. So yeah, God is jealous. No such thing. And again, God doesn't require me to believe in Him. Whereas I don't hear that too much. So you got to revisit what you think God is, because again, a lot of people do things because what is God going to do to me when I cross over? Am I going to hell or am I going to heaven? Right? And really and truly, once you start reading this, there's really no hell and there's really no heaven. Night and day, you got to have one without the other one. The thought is cool. Again, people, when you say heaven, where do you think? I'm going out there to heaven. Where is heaven to me? Where is hell to me? Or right here, right now. Because whatever you do is going to bring stuff back to you. So people put their lives on hold and stuff, because of this decision about what God is. Good book. You got to figure out what it means to you, because your whole life, again, runs through that. I'm not going out today because I may do something and I don't want to go to hell, and right? To me, there's no death. Those are dead people. They're not living. So once you understand what death is or crossing over, then you live. Because it could be any day, it could be right now. You never know. So once you understand what it is, then the fear is gone. And then you can live because there's no fear. And really there's no fear about what you create in your own head. Right? And so I'm going to shut my mouth because I could go on all day. And this is like 100.1 of what books we have in the library. I'm willing to give classes and we can restudy this stuff. I love this stuff. Can y'all tell? This is like blood to me, right? And I used to wonder, man, why am I reading? Why am I studying? This is why, because I was supposed to be here right now doing this. I didn't know that back then, but I kept on with the reading because I knew something deep down was like, there's a reason for this. This is it right now, right? So since I'm all wired up, anybody have any questions right now while I'm all in the zone? Yes, sir.
What are the machines they talk about in that Secret Machines book? Is it like new energy technology?
So, exactly. So there's new energy technology, free energy. We heard of that. We heard of Nikola Tesla. Free energy. So what he was doing was pulling energy from the space between you and me. And why don't we have that now? Because somebody took that information and shelved it.
So a lot of money to be made from gasoline.
Because a lot of money to be made from oil. And there'd be more money to be made if they would actually bring this out. But that's not what they want. And so there are all kinds of machines. We got hints of it. There's the Carl Castle. I just saw this. I love the Carl Castle. This one man, I think he was from Eastern Europe, and this is in Florida. You can go touch it. He created this castle with huge boulders all by himself at night so nobody would see. And they're big boulders, thousands of pounds, that you can push with your hand, and it opens. And that is the technology that they're hiding. And they showed you some of the pictures, and he has a little black box on top of this, like the 4-pod. And so what they were doing is they were adding electricity and connecting. They were nullifying gravity. Is what they were doing, and that's how they built the pyramids and all these humongous. That's how they. Can you imagine 1,000 men dragging a rock up a slab? Like, dude, you're on my toes. It doesn't make sense. That's what it was. Technology they don't want us to know about that would take us to the next level, right? And so, all this stuff is like fresh. I read this stuff 20 years ago. 30. It's fresh. It's like right now. People say live in the now. Things that you do in the now will always be relevant wherever you go, whatever time it is. Like when my kids read these books, 30 years from now, they'll still be relevant, unless we have this thing called disclosure, where an event happens. Like there's some ships that are so big, they're like 40 miles wide. Whole cities floating. Can you imagine the pyramid, if you've ever seen it, how big it is? That thing raises off the ground and goes off because they're able to manipulate gravity. And they can do it right now. And the military does it right now. And so you need to know this stuff is happening. You need to be aware that it's possible. Otherwise, you're stuck where you are. And then as things move, you move. Whereas if you know this stuff is happening, things will happen all around you, and you will be comfortable where you are, and things will work out for you. The people that don't believe and don't care, then they go with the flow. No matter what it is. If everything is good, they're good. If everybody is mad, they're mad. So once you understand all this stuff, if they're good or happy, you're cool. And that's how you make your own way through whatever's happening. They're betting on that. You're scared. And remember 2000, the year 2000? Man, I was working at a computer company, and we made a lot of money on selling software to save your computer. All of a sudden, it's gone. I always wondered, what happened to all those people right before that? Like they went into a hole or something. And then it's like, what do? They pushed the date out. 2012, made a whole bunch more money. That's because everybody got scared. You can't be scared. There is no reason to fear. You are more powerful than you can imagine. Just start that. I'm made in the image of God, no matter who it is, who she is, who he is, who it is. And so if God can do all these things, who keeps the sun up there where it is? And the moon? So that person made those things and has the power to do that. And then made me. And so I can do that. Look at the tree and the seed. Just like it. Right? The seed grows up to be a tree. You're made in the image of God. What are you going to grow up to be? What are you? And you can't separate it. There's no like God's over there. You can think that way and you can create your life that way. It's not that way. Okay? I'm going to shut up because I think I ran my mouth too long. You can talk to me later if you got any questions. And thank you for letting me spill my beans.